Coming up on TekThing, Star Trek goes VR, new monitors from Dell, pick the right app for two-factor authentication, Luminoodles, awesome mirror pads, and more. It's all coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing, and thank you.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
We may actually have several useful things in this episode.
We have a lot to talk about in this episode.
Have you ever employed the claw method of using your gaming mouse? Yeah, I had no idea it existed either. It's a thing, apparently.
No.
Yeah, with the first-person shooters or something. You just replaced your cable modem.
Yeah, I did. This is my old one. It's the Surfboard model SB6141. I bought it like 5 years ago, so really needed to upgrade the thing.
You get like 200 megabits per second. What could be wrong with this glorious cable modem?
So it turns out that if I was uploading photos to like Facebook or a video to YouTube or whatever, and my husband is playing games at the same time, using this modem would make us lag because we were both hardlined into the Ethernets. But he would get the worst lag, and then he would get so mad whenever he would die in his video games. So I went to Twitter.
I was like, you're like, this is taking forever. And he's like,
He's like, why am I dying? And then he has to like message his friends, be like, I'm sorry, there's so much lag. My wife is uploading to YouTube. And I'd just be like, well, I'm sorry, it's my job. So turns out it was an issue with our the amount of channels that we have available to upload, which is the weirdest thing. I had no clue that was a problem or a thing in itself. So while I was in the process of upgrading this, I learned a lot about modems, which is why we're mentioning this on the show. So I want to know if you guys have any questions about modem, download, or upload channels, what the heck the differences are between DOCSIS 3.0 and DOCSIS 3.1, or the best modem speeds. What is DOCSIS? Yeah, the best internet speeds for your ISP, because I went down a rabbit hole of research about this stuff. So I'm more than willing to share what I've figured out. Message us, ask@tekthing.com.
Or tweet at Patrick Norton at TekThing, or
at Snubs. And I'll answer all sorts of questions next week on the show about modems, everybody's favorite thing. I'm just going to burn this with fire.
Including the #1 tip for making sure you have the fastest possible performance out of the modem you own.
I just wanted to do that. I hate that thing so much. It was making me so mad.
Would you like me to responsibly recycle it?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Because otherwise, there's going to be fires.
Okay, so other than modems, we're also looking into monitors today. That's exciting.
Okay, my favorite monitor by far, Dell's U3415 UltraSharp curved monitor, 34 inches of awesome with a 3440 by 1440 resolution. I love it for running multiple apps simultaneously in the office. It's curved. It's also great for gaming. It takes up a ton of desktop space and usually sells for $700.
Yeah.
That's not cheap. And if you're a gamer, it probably means upgrading your GPU to get the best image quality out of your games. The costs of gaming, they add up.
Way up.
I feel like I'm a Pied Piper for that monitor.
You are. Everybody has one now.
You got one.
I got one at home. I got the 17.
Your husband got one.
Yeah, the 3417, yep.
The 3 of the people in the office are now running them on their desktops.
Yep.
So, you know, what's crazy though is when you look at Steam's hardware survey, 45% of Steam users are running at 1080p. Another 23-point-something% are running at, I think, 1366 by 768.
What?
And approximately, well, less than 1/2% are gaming at resolutions
like
higher than 1080p.
Wow.
So there's a lot of you out there that are perfectly happy with 1080p. Although I've noticed two things are happening with a lot of the 1080p monitors that I've been using for years. Is one, I really want an HDMI port. I am tired of life without an HDMI port in a couple of these monitors. That's why I got rid
of my old monitors.
And 2, monitors die.
Eventually.
After a while. Yeah, or just the image quality degrades to the point where you're just like, could be blue, that could be yellow. I have to stop using this monitor. Why is white yellow?
So what kind of options would I have from Dell if I don't want to spend that money on that ultra wide?
You know, we are big fans of Dell monitors. We own a lot of them between the umpteen of us around here. Dell just announced a new S family of monitors. So we got eyes on, or hands on, or eyes and hands on the Dell 23 and Dell 27 monitor. They also have the new Dell 22 and 24 models. All 4 are 1080p IPS displays. They're stacked on stylish aluminum stands, big glossy black backs, because everybody loves gathering fingerprints. And 3 of them cost under $220. And then when Dell's members prices, 2 of them cost like $150 or $160.
Wow.
So this is very affordable.
Yeah.
They can be loosely grouped into 2 families, the 22 and 23. They have like tiny bezels on 3 sides with a thicker bezel on the bottom. They have a pair of 3-watt speakers built in, and they sell for $142 and $161 to Dell members.
Nice.
Then there's the 27 and the 24-inch models, which I think are going to be kind of compelling for people watching now. They sell for $209 and $275 to Dell members. They offer Dell XPS-style Infinity Edge bezel, which basically means it's barely there on all 4 sides. It's really pretty.
It's kind of like the laptops that we have. So pretty.
Yes, inspired by the Dell XPS 13. And then they have this kind of, it's funny, they have a stereo speaker that plops into the base.
What?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a nice speaker. I run 2 desktop speakers on my desk, so the first thing I did was like unplug it and put it away. You don't have to use the speaker, but it comes with those 2 models. They support AMD's FreeSync. They've got Dell's version of HDR, which should work with HDR10, but isn't the same as 4K HDR TV standards. It gets messy, and quite frankly, most inexpensive monitors, whether you're talking about a television for your living room that's 65 inches or something like this, are not going to do a particularly great job with HDR.
Yeah.
HDR is not, good HDR isn't really cheap right now. That's a Robert Heron question. Feel free to ask us and we'll forward it along. So I didn't really think too much about the HDR because I don't really have much access to HDR other than like the occasional.
There's like a few things on Amazon and Netflix right now.
Netflix.
But not much.
Yeah, and I can only watch Marco Polo so many times. So quite frankly, the Dell 23 and 27 monitors we looked at, they look gorgeous. No dead pixels, though, hey, these were review samples, so they were probably picked to awesome. But the backlighting was even, colors looks good, saturated. And once I got over not being able to adjust the height, the stylish aluminum foot design grew on me. I find any monitors that I cannot adjust vertically really frustrating.
Yes, I agree.
Dell. And I gotta say, as somebody that started using reading glasses in the last couple of years, 1080 on the 27-inch S2718H was easier on my eyes than 1080p on the 23-inch S2318HX.
Okay.
So
and is that just because of the size, the physical
pixels
size?
were bigger. Right. Ironically, I prefer a much denser monitor, and then I'll make my apps larger because I want to have like 3 or 4 things simultaneously.
Yeah, for sure.
But in terms of like if I'm staring at 1080p, I like the bigger pixels.
Yeah.
I like
get that.
Yeah, well, okay, so FreeSync is a nice touch on the 23 and the 27. NVIDIA GPU owners, of course, will want NVIDIA's G-Sync instead. And I gotta say, I really prefer monitor stands that adjust for height. Though being able to tilt the display, it's pretty crazy from like -5 to 21 degrees, I think.
That's really far.
So, but you have to, if your seat isn't at the right height for your desk, that is your only way of getting your face or the monitor pointed at your face.
Yeah.
Which I find frustrating because I don't want to look down at a monitor if my chair is a little too high.
Yeah, of course. It's better for your posture.
I'm not going to say I like height adjustments on monitor again because at some point it becomes irritating. All 4 of them offer HDMI and VGA inputs, and the monitors are rated at a 6 millisecond response time and 250 candela per meter squared, 250 candelas per square meter of brightness, which is plenty unless you're operating on the deck of a ship somewhere in the Bahamas. And if you are, you have a whole different set of issues. If you're looking for a little more sort of real estate, something a little denser, and something more elegant, Dell also just announced the 27-inch ultra-thin monitor, the S2718D.
So pretty.
It is really, really pretty. 2560 by 1440 Infinity Edge display. It like has this long swooping riser. Yeah, it's funny to watch because I turn around and I've got like a 7-year-old UltraSharp Dell 1080p monitor, and it's like looking at an old CRT television because it's big and it's thick and these are thin and they're elegant.
They're so pretty.
Yeah, so the 27 Ultra Thin, it's got this like long swoopy riser on the back, which offers a ton of tilt. Doesn't really offer the ability to adjust for height. Okay, I like being able to adjust for height. The compact base is actually, I thought, was a really most monitors make the buttons a pain in the ass to press.
Yes.
This one doesn't. There's a little, rectangular base, and all the buttons you need to control the monitor are on that base. And all the cables are directly out the back of the base, which sounds I don't know. Instead of like being like, I'm going to crawl up under the monitor and plug the things into the bottom of the monitor and then bundle the cables through the back of the monitor standing out, like all the cables are flat on your desktop and they go straight out. I use both the HDMI input from a desktop and the USB-C input from a laptop with no issues. The base also has apparently a USB 3.1 hub built in and a pair of USB 2.0 downstream ports. Yay. And this monitor also offers Dell's interpretation of HDR.
Cool.
It's also a lot more expensive. Style costs, people. And the Dell 27 Ultrathin runs $503.49 for members at Dell.com.
Okay.
This is not the cheapest WQHD monitor out there. It is probably the most stylish. And if you're a gamer, you probably want one that supports either G-Sync or FreeSync.
Absolutely.
Because, hey, not having tears is kind of awesome. Lovely design, and man, I think the screen on the test unit we had, I think it'll pass muster for just about anybody short of graphics professionals and video engineers. It looks very nice.
They're so pretty. I'm so glad you got a chance to review them too, because I got to look at them. It's like, yes.
It was, you know, I've been bouncing back and forth between like a 7-year-old monitor, a U3415W and a 2560 by 14.4 monitor. So it's been kind of funny to go from like a 22-inch monitor and then to have these and to realize if you've been staring at the same monitor and it's the only monitor you stare at, you might not realize how sort of beat it is.
Yeah, exactly.
To use a highly technical term.
Before I upgraded to the 3417, the ultra wide, I was using a dual monitor setup that I've had since college.
Yeah.
It's been a very long time since I was in college. I'm kind of old. So, I mean, I needed to upgrade.
My college monitor
I didn't think I needed to upgrade, but then I did, and I was like, wow, you can really see the difference once you do. So these are great. I love that they are, you know, really good price points. A lot of people, I think, can afford them, so I'm really happy that they chose to go with those.
A nice 23-inch monitor for $142 is or 22-inch monitor.
Definitely.
Go larger if you can.
Go large or go home? No.
Go big or go home, people. That should be a t-shirt.
Last week, I got to play Star Trek Bridge Crew. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
I get really uptight whenever you get your cosplay on with Star Trek because you're wearing a red shirt, and in my world, red shirts don't come back.
Don't forget, Uhura lives, and she was a red shirt. She's the only one that ever survived, as far as I know, but she lived throughout all the seasons.
Okay.
Yep, so I am cosplaying Uhura, I live. Unless I'm doing an interview with Nvidia, and then I'm not. So Nvidia invited me to join them over at Ubisoft Studio in San Francisco to play the new virtual reality Star Trek Bridge Crew video game. And TLDR, it was so much fun. This is the game that you can get. It's called Star Trek Bridge Crew, and you can currently pre-order it, and they just posted the pre-order, so it's $50, and it's available on Oculus, Vive, and PSVR. So the reason I bring this up isn't necessarily to like review the game or something, but to talk about this being my first time actually like fully versed in a full-fledged virtual reality video game with friends.
Right.
So I wanted to share my experience with you guys about how it was playing a game, even though this one doesn't release until May 30th. But it was a great example of how it works. And luckily with this one, you're able to do like cross-play in case you have the HTC Vive and I have the Oculus Rift.
Oh, nice.
Apparently we can play together. We all played on Oculus Rift, so not sure about that crossplay in actual, like, real format of gameplay, but that's what they said. You do need to have very precise hand controllers to be able to play this, so if you only have the headset, you have to upgrade and get the little hand controllers for any of these. But if you do, it's, and you also have to have a pretty decent gaming rig, then you should be golden. You should be able to play it just fine.
So, did you enjoy the VR gaming experience?
I did. It was so much fun. So in the case of this game, you have 4 different players, and you can play all sorts of different kind of campaigns. Just to kind of give you an idea of how it worked, you can choose Captain, Helm, Tactical, and Engineering, and then each person has a different job to do. And you have to play together as a team, so there's a lot of communication involved. You have to use a microphone and everything so that you can actually beat it. So for me, being a Trekkie and like putting on my headphones and having those over-the-ear headphones, and then when you start looking around and you're on the bridge of the
Did you just squeal?
I did.
You put the
literally squealed. It was so cool. When you're actually in it, you really get enveloped into that game. And then when you bring in the hand controllers into it, it totally doubles that perception that makes you feel like you're actually a part of the game. It makes it feel more realistic. Because you're actually using your own motions and things. You're hearing sounds all around you whenever you're inside that game. So virtual reality definitely increases your perception of actually being there. It's the weirdest thing.
You felt immersed.
It's so weird. I totally felt immersed. So in Bridge Crew, each player has a tabletop display with like all sorts of buttons on it, things that you have to interact with. And at first I felt like I just needed to click on a button on my controller to make something happen and just like point it at the display. No, you actually have to reach down to the display and click on the display with your controller, which was weird to me. So you have to kind of trick your depth perception because we're so used to holding controllers in our hands.
And that's also one of the things Will Smith was talking about because
it's weird.
Because VR, well, we have sort of like a set grammar or things we expect when we're doing 2D video games or if we're interfacing with like Windows, but they're still figuring out how you interact with virtual reality.
It's so strange. So like I could look around on the bridge and I can see displays way over on the wall.
Right.
Obviously I can't get up and walk over to them because the game doesn't allow for that. But if I'm sitting down like in the tactical display, I'm checking out my controller display in front of me, I can reach down and click on something. So you have to trick your depth perception and say, okay, this display is actually that far away. Don't be afraid to reach out physically so that you can touch a button on that display and like shoot a Klingon or whatever it might be. So since you get so sucked into that game, at times like for example, you are fighting those Klingons and your ship might get hit. And that's no fun. Each time it happened, without fail, I would flinch a little bit because there would be like a little fire that starts up, or maybe my display has some sparks that fly up off of it. And it kind of makes you flinch because you're like, oh shoot, I did something wrong. I need to fix this. Engineering, fix the helm or whatever. Obviously nothing's going to hurt you because it's virtual reality, but it seems that much real because you're so much more involved with the game and you're interacting with it so much. With this one, you also get to choose your own character, whatever your character looks like. So, for example, I got to choose a female Vulcan character, and she looks super awesome. She was super cute. So while I couldn't see her, when I was picking her out, I did see her face. I could look down at my lap, and I could see that I was wearing a skirt. And I can see that I was wearing the long sleeve yellow, the yellow outfit that she would wear. So if I looked around me on the bridge, I could see my other team members around me, and I could interact with them and see what they were doing for all their different parts, which was awesome. It was kind of weird now and then whenever I would have a question for the captain. So for example, I would turn around to the captain, I would look at his avatar, and he would look right back at me and make hand gestures as the person that was wearing the headset. So the person wearing the headset makes the avatar go like this and wave at you. You see the person in the avatar waving at you, and it was the strangest thing to me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because it's
that's not a real person, but it is.
But it's real, yeah.
But it is.
So you're wearing the Oculus Rift?
Yeah.
Any moments of like a desperate need to vomit or
No. Surprisingly not. Now I did die at the end of the interview, but that's because I was wearing a red shirt. Spoiler alert. But the Oculus was really comfortable. The hand controllers were very natural to hold because of the way they are shaped. So your hands, like if you just let them go loose, you kind of like half clinch, I guess. But when you're holding the Oculus, it's the same kind of motion that your hands create. And each player also has a microphone, so you can talk to each other and act out your different characters' positions. But and the range of motion that you have with the two Oculus sensors, it gives you enough motion that you don't feel like you're stuck in a teeny tiny little place. So you can actually move around and do lots of different things with your character while you're in the game. It was a cool experience. It was really, really cool to play like really in-depth games. There obviously is still that budget concern. Like I was watching this and we were playing on these gamer laptops and I was like, man, this would cost hundreds of dollars for this setup.
Well, it's funny because you can do it with a cell phone, you know, or a smartphone.
Yeah, like the Daydream VR.
but it is not nearly as immersive or visually compelling as it is coming off of the computers right now.
Like that one doesn't have like built-in headsets. Yes, you can stick in your earphones. It doesn't have a microphone to talk to other people. So there's a lot of things missing with just a smartphone VR that you don't get whenever you're playing these Oculus games. You need a lot of hardware, so that is going to keep a lot of people from buying into virtual reality right now. But it is so cool. I think being able to use the example of Star Trek Bridge Crew, it was an excellent example of what virtual reality can do in a gaming space, especially when you have other players involved in the same game as you, because there's so much communication and you really feel like you're doing something. Not necessarily just sitting on a sofa playing a game on your TV, but you actually feel like it almost feels like you're completing this goal together.
You're LARPing without the
totally, it's like LARPing. Except in virtual reality.
Yeah, LARPing without leaving the house.
So it was cool, and I just wanted to share that experience with you because I thought it was so interesting to be able to get that opportunity. And I hope that everybody else gets that opportunity too.
You do realize you have enough CPU and enough GPU to power an HTC Vive.
I do now. Yeah, so I could get one. And I think since I got my husband to watch The Next Generation with me, he would be interested in playing this with me. We're going to make it happen.
VRs together stays together.
Now I'm really interested in finding other games that I can play with the VR. So if you guys have any recommendations for me, I don't own an Oculus Rift right now, but I do have some friends, so I could probably borrow one from one of them and play some games. But I am interested in learning some more about that virtual reality world. So email me any recommendations that you have, ask@tekthing.com, or you can tweet them to me @snubs. I'd be very interested to hear what you guys have to say.
I bet you got a question for us. Maybe you want to see us review something on TekThing. Do you have a tip or an idea you want to share with the whole TekThing crew? Fire it out, people. Send it to us, ask@tekthing.com, or tweet @TekThing, @Snubs, or @Patrick Norton. And hey, if you want to be part of the crew that makes TekThing possible, please contribute to the show at patreon.com/TekThing. That makes the show possible. It's what feeds Shannon and I and our families. Just $1 an episode will make a difference, and you'll get access to our patron-only build videos and quite a bit more. Thank you for your patronage. You make TekThing possible.
3 questions answered, 3 reviews, 3 picks, all in 3 minutes. This week's rapid fire roundup is, you have all sorts of tech going on up here.
Random collection of interesting technology that I needed to review.
Yes.
Okay, let's start off with the HyperX Pulsefire FPS gaming mouse. That would be this critter right here. I've been using HyperX's Alloy FPS Keyboard since they launched it.
It's awesome.
It's awesome, right? It's compact, it doesn't take up a lot of desktop space, and they have cherry blue, brown, or red switches. You can choose whichever one you want when you buy it. So when Kingston asked if I wanted to check out the new HyperX Pulsefire FPS gaming mouse, I was curious. $50 is typical for a gaming mouse. It's really weird. On Amazon, gaming mice are either like $50 or $9.
That's funny.
You know, or like $60
Unless you go with like
$9.
the brand name ones, and then they're like $100.
No. A bunch of the brand name ones, like there's
they start around there, but they can go up in price, especially if
Yeah.
you start like tacking on macros and stuff.
I agree. When you get to 23-button gaming mice, it just gets stupid expensive.
Yes.
In any case, so this is a very simple mouse, and you and I were both laughing. It's like it feels plasticky.
It feels lightweight and plasticky.
I dare say. The Alloy keyboard feels luxurious. It has weight, it has heft, and this feels cheap, I'm going to be honest. HyperX, very, very proud of the PixArt 3310 sensor, which can switch between 4 DPI presets from 400 to 3200 DPI. Yeah, you basically,
I love that ability.
You cycle through them on the switch on the top. The left and right buttons run Omron switches, and they claim 20 million clicks of reliability per switch.
Cool.
And actually, you know, they're nice, they're satisfying.
They
have a wonderful tactile feel. And I gotta say, I like a relatively simple mouse. You know, big buttons, big mouse skates, which worked really well sliding across my not so awesome desktop. I am assured that it should work fine with both palm and claw grip.
Who claws their mice?
Apparently, a lot of people claw their mice. Well, there's also this is more of a fingertip grip. I had no idea there was just whole ranges of mouse manipulation technique out there.
Apparently.
At 42 millimeters high, it's fairly low profile, and it will work for you as long as you are right-handed. Red backlighting matches the HyperX keyboard. What I thought felt cheap, HyperX says, is lightweight for fast mousing. The mouse itself weighs 95 grams. There's no optional adjustable weights. It is what it is. The whole thing with the cable weighs 120 grams, and the cable is 1.8 meters long, which means it should be able to lead just about anywhere you need your cable modem. No, your mouse cable go. Oh my goodness.
Cool, okay.
This is the Power Practical Luminoodle.
Luminoodle?
Yes, it's look, it's a noodle. This was an interesting project that started as bias lighting for TVs and monitors, right?
Okay.
So it powers off of a USB port. So the idea is that you would power on your television.
Whoa, that's
and you would have this, you know, you can peel the strip off and then run it around the outside edges of your television.
Yeah.
And bias lighting means essentially, if you're in a dark room, you have a bright light, and then you have blackness, and that just isn't great for your eyes. So bias lighting means you run lighting behind the monitor or the screen to create a transition. Turns out what this is really cool for is camping or working in dark corners.
Totally.
It's running at 6,000 Kelvin, which is a nice bright white light. It's waterproof, IP67 rated, up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. They sell a 5-foot bundle for $20 or a 10-foot bundle for $30. That's like 180 or 360 lumens. And if you buy it from, if you get sort of the standard version now, it comes with a pouch. So you can use the pouch as a sort of lampshade / lantern effect on that one.
That's so useful.
That's powerpractical.com. And if you're a camper or just looking for a, you know, I'm one of those people that keeps ending up with new and exciting ways to produce battery-powered lights. Just, you know, try not to stare at it too long because
it's pretty bright.
It's pretty bright. In fact, I'm going to unplug it before I blow my eyeballs out for the 4th time today.
I can't see.
The ear pads on your headphones wear out over time.
Yes,
or in the case of my T50RP headphones, these Fostexes right here, you know, or for example, the beloved Monoprice 8320s, the ear pads kind of sucked straight from the factory. Or maybe you're looking for a better seal, more space for your ears. A company I ran into at CanJam a couple weeks ago, Deconi. They offer a ton of pads in velour, protein, leather, and sheepskin. I bought a set of sheepskin pads for my T50RP headphones at CanJam. These are really nice memory foam. These headphones now, they feel better, they're more comfortable, they seal better, and I think they now have a bigger soundstage and a tiny bit more bass than they did before.
That's cool.
In no small part because there's just a whole lot more space now between, can you see that? That's the original ear pad. And this is the Deconi ear pad.
Wow.
They've got ear pads for Sony's MDR 7506. And then a ton of models from Audio-Technica, Biodynamic Techniques, and others. This pair is normally $60 at DeconiAudio.com. They also sell them on Mass Drop and other places. I got them 25% off because I was buying at CanJam.
Cool.
I know a lot of people who have worn out or are not particularly impressed with the Sony MDR 7506s.
Yes.
If you saw Deconi and you're curious, they're making a quality product. I paid for this out of my own pocket, and I am delighted by it.
That's awesome.
Got a question for Shannon or I? Email ask@TekThing.com. We're waiting for you.
Yes, we are. Real quick, just a reminder, if you're checking us out over on youtube.com/TekThing, I did this awesome ultimate minimalist gaming desktop setup that you can check out over on our YouTube channel. It's a 4-minute long video, so very easy to watch. But let me know what you think, and if you have any other recommendations for cable management or shelving for my networking stuff, because that is going to be my next minimalist setup that I'm planning to do.
Watch it for the terrible, evil surprise lurking under Shannon's desk. YouTube.com/TekThing.
We got an email from DJ who says, you keep talking about two-factor authentication.
We do.
I am looking for a two-factor authentication app that functions on iOS and PC without using Chrome on the PC. Further, once an app is found, how does one actually use it? From DJ. I love this question. It's so good. So I realized we've talked about different 2FA apps that we like, and we kind of mentioned how to use it, but we've never actually gone really deep into like what it's used, like how you actually set it up.
Right. So two-factor authentication means there is a thing you hold and a thing you know usually, or a thing that gets sent to you. For example, I have a PIN number that goes with my debit card, or if to log on to eBay, I get sent a text message with a number on it. That's the second factor that identifies me or authenticates me.
So it adds that extra layer of security for your online account. So you will always need to enter your username and password to a website as usual, but you will also have to enter that randomly generated code that either gets sent to you via a call or a SMS or a two-factor authentication app. So I prefer apps. I think those are the best since SMS can be eavesdropped on. It's very easy for somebody to intercept an SMS. If you've gone to DEF CON, you know about that. But if a site only offers SMS as their two-factor authentication, it is better than nothing. You should still turn it on.
You convinced me, by the way. I'm using Google Authenticator for everything I can.
Yes.
But there's still stuff that only does SMS.
Okay.
Do you use two-factor authentication software on your computer?
Personally, I don't use 2FA on my desktop. There's a few reasons why. I feel like it negates the purpose of having a separate device used to generate those codes, because if your computer is logged in and accessible, and that's the one that you are needing to use the two-factor authentication code on, then the app is available on the same device to generate your login code. So to me, I feel like I don't want all those things on one computer.
Right.
So it's easier as well. A lot of people use it because the desktop app can autofill the codes for you, so you don't have to type it into your keyboard. And two-factor authentication desktop apps do require a master password on the app itself. So some choose to use it. I just don't. That's a personal preference. Your mileage may vary. Don't get mad at me for choosing to not use something.
If there's like belt and suspenders, duct tape, and some wire, you're at the belt, suspender, duct tape, wire, you know, crazy glue level.
I am using security. I choose security over convenience, not convenience over that security. But some people will choose to use desktop, and that's fine. You use whatever you want, bros. So my picks for this would be Authy and 1Password for PC compatibility. One of those is free, and the other one is not. So first up is Authy. This is the one that I use on mobile, and I love it. It is available on Android and iOS, but as well on PC. The only thing is, this only works in Chrome on your PC. I do mention this, though, because it allows for backing up your codes, so they're encrypted locally, so your codes won't get intercepted, but you're still putting some trust in Authy servers to take care of those encrypted codes. Just keep that in mind. It is useful, though, if you have a high device turnover, so you know, if your laptop gets broken all the time and you need to install it on a new laptop, it's very easy to back up those codes and get it ready on a new computer. And also it's free, so that's a plus. It's really easy to tell which code you need because each one includes a site's logo. So for example, with Google, it gives you Google's logo. I have my app set to lock every single time I turn off my phone, so it's got that additional layer of security on top of it. I need a PIN to enter Authy, and I also have a backup code for my backups. So there's that additional layer. So if somebody found my phone and they unlocked it, they still wouldn't be able to get into my Authy account unless they had my Authy passcode or PIN. And you can also deregister devices from your Authy account too. So
it's a very pretty application.
It is very pretty. It's very pretty and it's very easy to use. Another one that's very pretty and easy to use, and probably your best bet for a Chrome-free on PC and also on iOS, is 1Password. Now you may say, oh, but this is a password manager. Yes, I'll get to that in a second. So it does cost a bit of money, but with that you are also getting customer service, and you're getting constant updates, and you're also getting upgrades. So if you go over to their support page about how to use two-factor authentication with it, it's actually really easy to set up two-factor authentication inside this password manager app. And you can do it all from your desktop. You don't require a phone. So you can scan a QR code for a page, enter it in as a one-time passcode, and that passcode will generate every time you need to log into that account through the 1Password password manager. Now keep in mind again is the cost. It's $2.99 per month for one person's devices, and that's all your devices.
That's $36 a year.
Oh no, yeah, it's not that expensive. And then $4.99 per month for a family, and I have seen discounts now and then, so keep that in mind as well. With any of these, of course, what you will want to do is first choose your two-factor authentication application, whether it's Authy, 1Password, or whatever it might be. Download the application on your mobile and on your desktop, and also set up your account, because they will require some kind of account setup. Once you have that set up, you just go to a website where you want to turn on two-factor authentication. This can be be anything from Amazon to LastPass to Gmail. Facebook has 2FA. Dropbox also has 2FA. Microsoft, Slack, etc., etc. So there's plenty to choose from if you want to get started. You will get a QR code or a little code that you can scan into the two-factor authentication app, and that connects your two accounts to each other. Now you will need to enter the first code that generates in your two-factor authentication app into the website so that the website verifies that you actually have both of those accounts, and you can log in with that two-factor code. So you're not just making up 6 digits and sticking it into the website hoping to get into somebody's account. And now you just log out, you log back in, and you should be prompted for the code every single time you log into that website. So luckily, all 2FA apps pretty much work the same, and there's a lot of apps out there. These are, of course, just 2 that just happen to work on desktop as well. There is Google Authenticator, there is Duo, there are Microsoft's Authenticator app, there's the LastPass Authenticator, there are lots.
I'm shaking my head and nodding my head to the ones I have personally used and the ones I haven't used. I am not making judgment on any of those applications.
I've used all of those. I have checked out every single one, and all of them have perks and some of them have negatives, but it's just a personal preference which one you choose because they all work pretty much the same. Check the search tab on TekThing.com because we have done a couple of reviews of other two-factor authentication apps that are available. These are just a couple of the ones that include desktop apps. So I think that's about it. Hopefully that helped you, DJ. Though finding which one you personally prefer. Let me know which one you choose and if you find a different one, or if our viewers have an option that they would like to include in this little roundup for
Somebody's
desktop
going to ask
apps.
about YubiKeys.
Oh, for sure. So YubiKey is a FIDO Alliance physical key that you can use, which we've also mentioned on the show, and you can find that previous episode on TekThing.com via the search tab. Yay, I set that up. It was super cool. And yeah, it's basically a physical key that you plug in, and you press down on it, and then it logs you into your account. The problem with that is FIDO Alliance doesn't work on all the sites that two-factor authentication works on. So two-factor authentication is more widely adopted because everybody has a phone that they can download a free app on. But with a physical device, not as many people have adopted that feature, but you can find it on a few sites. Microsoft, Dropbox has it, I believe, Gmail, obviously, because that's the one I use. So there are a few out there, and that does add that additional layer as well, because you have a separate device.
There will always be more research to learn more about two-factor authentication.
I love two-factor authentication.
It's like cable modems, but different.
Yes. Remember, once in a while, put down your phone, step away from the screen, and do something analog, like James, who did an analog trip to Ireland, and he sent us photos, and I wanted to share these with you.
So pretty.
He said, my wife and I went there for our 10th anniversary, and it was amazing. I love, 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 love checking out these photos. Thank you so much for sending them, and look at the cow.
Thank you, James. Those are amazing, and we would love to. There are amazing people out there. You may be one of them. Do us a favor, tell us about the cool analog stuff you do. Email ask@tekthing.com, send pictures, or send a link to a YouTube video or the video of your choice.
Yes.
Yeah, send us an executable attachment.
No, just send us visuals, that's it.
I'll click on it. Mikey will click on it. Mikey clicks on everything.
Not on this network,
Oh,
no thank you.
goodness.
I'm Shannon Morse.
I'm Patrick Norton, and we will see you next week on TekThing.
Don't tell people to send us executables.
I just wanted to watch your face. I couldn't see it because I couldn't side-eye far enough to see the facial expression, but I know it's on the camera.
I'll zoom in on it and edit and just be like,
and Shannon's skull exploded!
why are you telling people to send us executables?
We have a very strict don't get fished policy here.
I want to go to Ireland now.
I want to go to Ireland after I figure out where my family came from.
Yeah.
That's going to take some more research. We're stuck at about 18 to Cable modem questions, ask@tekthing.com. Trust me, you're not the only one that has that question.
No, you're not. You never are.
Thank goodness.
Thank you, everybody, for watching the show.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.